joining me, Bisi, on Business Insight.
Thank you very much for
You have so many feathers on your cap.
Absolutely.
You are a mother, you are a businesswoman, you are a mentor, and you just inspire people everywhere you go.
I try to do my best.
And indeed, you are doing very, very well. Let's talk about the United Arab Emirates, because in July, the visa ban was lifted, and Nigerians can actually now do business in the UAE. But over time, there's been this gloom and doom picture that has been painted about Nigeria abroad. But you're here telling us that the story is not always like that. So what's the real picture?
So yes and no, in terms of the fact that Nigerian can come in and do business in the UAE. One of the things I would say here is the first set of people that can actually market or promote their country is the individuals in that country.
True.
Now, because of the negative reputation, of course, some issues that happened over 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, which had to do with some courtesan fighting in Dubai.
True.
And they are very, very, very keen on security. They don't want a situation whereby the security system is being compromised. And that was why the visa ban, of course, really came in. But right now, of course, Nigerians can come into Dubai, but there is a couple of restrictions in terms of what you must have in your bank account, like a 10 million naira bank balance and a couple of other things, to be sure that whoever is coming into their country right now, they are the people who we had to them. They are people who would not actually pose.
Really, actually coming for real business.
Yes, who is coming for business, who is coming for tourists, not just to come and add and become a nuisance in their country, which of course every country wants to protect their image.
Of course.
That's why for me as a Nigerian, how I promote my country, what I say about my organization is very important. Coming back from the UAE and while in the airplane down to Nigeria, I heard all sorts of what Nigerians were saying, just arriving from the airport, negative things about the country. Some I had to you don't demarket your country. You don't go to America and while in the plane you're hearing people talking about negativity about America. It's not as if everything is working in America, of course. So we need to actually promote and present and market our country in such a way that people will be able to see us from a different approach. In as much as we have some issues with the UAE, which is of course being resolved, we still have a lot of positive Nigerians, Africans making waves in the UAE. And like I said, people can come into the UAE, run their businesses, people can come in and tour the UAE country and see the beautiful and amazing things happening.
Okay, let's talk about doing business in the United Arab Emirates. Specifically, you foray into the real estate market. You know, when you look at Dubai, we look at the tourist attraction, the tourism. The wonderful landscape. What is it that they are doing differently that Nigeria can actually borrow a leaf in terms of real estate?
Okay, so what they are doing differently is really obvious to everyone to see. So number one, like I said, you do not demarket your country. We are the first set of people to promote the good of our country. Dubai, for instance, one of the things they've been able to do is to push the positive aspect of Dubai. Now, they tell people about the vision, what they're going to do. In about 2 decades ago, what we have in Dubai is not what we can see now.
True.
Now, they had a vision of what they want to transform Dubai to. What they did was they had a vision. So the first thing Nigeria needs to do is have a vision. Where are you taking Nigerians to? Where is the country going to be in the next decade?
True.
In the next 2, 3, 4 decades? Where does this country needs to get to? So they had a vision that they want Dubai to be one of the safest places in the world. And today, you can literally walk in Dubai 2 a.m., 12 midnight, take your children to the park. These are things I've done. I've taken my children to the park in the midnight. Around 10 p.m. we come back in the midnight. Sometimes we come back 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Why? Because the place is secured. But one of the things they were able to start is that they were able to show the pictures to investors. This is what we want to achieve in the UAE. We want to build the tallest tower in the world. We want to make Dubai a place whereby we're going to be having air taxis, we're going to be having the metro station, we're going to be having beautiful cities and skyscrapers all over this community, all over this country, a place where it was just sand and water. And because they were able to sell the vision, and it's not just about selling the vision, now begin to take the step to ensure that this vision become a reality. And that's why one of the things they do not joke with, like I said earlier, they do not compromise with their security. They want anybody to be able to work any day of the time.
And sleep with both eyes closed.
They're in Dubai as well with their eyes closed. So they have investors stripping in from different parts of the world coming into this country because, number one, it is secured. Number two, the ROI on investment is great. You invest there, you're getting about 10 to 15%, sometimes 20% of your investment. Why? Because of the economic growth of that country.
That is well said. But so let's bring it closer home, because they say charity begins at home. You know, wonderful stories being told about Dubai, United Arab Emirates. The one thing that, like you said, water, the desert, and everything. In Lagos here, people are trying to blaze trends and even build on water, like what we have, the Eco-Atlantic and all of that. But then you talked about investment, you talked about security, which are major challenges. You talked about, issues like interest rate also come to play.
Absolutely.
So how do we, go over all of these barriers, and specifically because of Nigerians are still having issues with housing deficit. So how do we play around all of these issues and maybe channel all of the negativities into positivities and also build some sort of living or livable areas where Nigerians can actually live?
This is a beautiful question, and what I must say is that the government would really need to work with the private sector to achieve this. A lot of people, young individuals, even though some people actually also who are in their old ages have beautiful vision for this country, but a lot of issues like the tax, not the tax rather,
the economic indices and everything.
Indices, yes, in terms of the interest rate,
taxation and all of that.
Yes, but I don't want to even focus more on the taxation. But in terms of the interest rate, if I have to get money from the bank to build what I need to build for the future, to create more housing opportunities for more people, guess what would happen? Because of my interest rate, which I don't know, maybe in the next 2-3 years would even increase, or 4 years, what happens is that the house which I am selling at 50 million today, in the next maybe 2 years, because of the different issues happening in the economy, it might not be the same price. So we also have the issue of inflation, which has come to bear. So we all know that what you buy today in the market, which is going for maybe 1,000 naira, by tomorrow you could get it for about 5,000 naira. So you could just wake up and see a lot of changes. So the government really needs to come up and also help the private sector, work with them. Also, we also have these bureaucracies of red cap of government taking forever to approve some housing plans, and this actually also affects the builders, the developers, because if I've taken money from the bank and I have a vision, I have a great deal to make our country better, because it's you and I that of course can make this country better, it's not just the government. But if my building permits is taking forever to be approved, and I've taken money from people, I've taken money from the bank, and now the interest rate, the inflation and everything is affecting me from bringing this vision to reality, then we have issues. And these are not issues that we have in places like Dubai, for instance. I've been going there for about 7 years now. The same rates is still 3.6. It's still the same thing till date. So if I collect money from the bank to build, guess what happens? I'm not paying higher to the bank. I'm paying at the same amount. So I don't have any issue of, the environmental factors caused by inflation is going to affect the amount I'm going to put my property. And that's why people keep making money in such countries, because they are not affected by the environmental factors happening there. So if government can work with the private sector and help us bring these dreams, this vision that we have into reality, I believe that our country, Nigeria as well, we will be able to provide more housing for people to be able to live in, and thereby, because Nigeria at this moment is actually undergoing housing deficits. A lot of people actually want a home, but guess what? They cannot afford it.
They can't afford it.
Somebody earning minimum wage cannot afford to buy a house.
Not at all.
Here in Nigeria today, it's going to take them another 50 years to be able to save enough to be able to either buy a house.
That brings me to another aspect. You talked about 50 years. Let's talk about long-term financing, because you mentioned in passing, we talked about how you also do business in the United States. And one thing that U.S. residents have going for them is mortgages. You know, how you can actually plan, to, get your own home and pay in a and a length of time for as much as 20, 30 years.
Absolutely.
So how come we don't have such scenarios playing out here in Nigeria? Because these things, we wonder they work, but why are they not really replicated here in our country?
I believe one of the reasons why it's not replicated is because of the systems that we have at the moment.
Okay.
Now, the system that we have in Nigeria, in as much as people would want to, or some financial institution want to do it, sometimes does not enable that. For instance, now, let's say a financial institution grants mortgage to an individual, and after a couple of years, the person just jackpot from Nigeria, and it's not a problem to even reach out to the person, and or some people, or even sells the house, and the person who buys the house does not do enough due diligence in making sure he does his research before he buys the property, and now, of course, acquire the loan or the deficit, of course, that the house already has. But the problem is the system, like I said. If proper systems are being put in place, whereby you know everyone who is actually in this country, we all have, even if it's not a social security number, I know we have our NIN, but everybody actually can be accountable. And also, apart from the system in terms of we being accountable to be able to provide or to also meet up with paying up our mortgages or our loans, is also to ensure that we have the government supporting this. Because when I give a loan to you as an individual, a mortgage, and I have 30 years to pay it off, and the government interest rate is affecting it, number one. Number two, there's no job security as well in the country. I'd already thought that I would be in a particular job for the next 10 years or 50 years to enable me to be able to pay this mortgage. And unfortunately, I lose my job. So what is going to happen to that mortgage, which is also another issue.
True.
The mortgage is facing in Nigeria, and a lot of financial institutions had to quit. I've had people who tell me that, oh, you know, I would really love to buy a property you're selling in Nigeria, but do you have the kind of mortgage that can afford me the opportunity to pay for the next 20 years, 30 years? Like, I'm going to share briefly about something we have in Dubai. Now, this system now, structure we have in Dubai, enables you to pay for a property for the next maybe 10 years, for the next 5 years, without you having any interest rate to your mortgage. So you're getting a mortgage, but you're not paying interest.
Okay, so you're actually just paying the exact amount for that length of time.
For that length of time. So it might not be for the next 30 years, like the US, the UK, and a couple of other countries. But even the fact that I can pay for the next 10 years, for the next 5 years, if we have such a system in Nigeria, and the banks, the financial institution are able to help these developers to achieve this. Because what this means is that the financial institution has helped giving the money to the developers to build these properties, to build these financial these houses. And the individuals who actually are now paying back are paying back to the financial institution, and the money is being held in an escrow account. So if we can have a long term like that, and there's no interest rate, what happens is that Nigerians will help our citizens to be able to have more of their citizens begin to have houses. They own their homes, and they are not thinking of relocating. Because if the problem of housing, shelter, food is being taken care of, what happens to the average Nigerian who has a house? A young Nigerian who can at the age of 25 or 30 has a home of his will not be thinking of immediately relocation, because some of them cannot meet up with their current payment of maybe shelter or food. Let's even put shelter as number one. But if you can meet up with you have a house of your own, you know that food will be easy for you to get. But if you don't have a house, you're thinking of paying your rent, you're thinking of paying this and that, then you'll not even be able to concentrate and focus enough to even make enough to meet other needs which you have. So if Nigerian government can help us achieve this, work with the financial institution and help the private sector to actually
go a long way,
get this funds, meaning their own interest rate for these organizations, these companies as well, will be limited to the developers, and individuals like everyone who is like an average Nigerian, any minimum wage, can own a property and have a long-term payment without any interest. Nigeria would be, I believe, will be on the way to be a better place for us.
All right. Since you also mentor people, and times are really very hard in the country now, so I want you to help a businessman, a businesswoman who seemingly going through hard times with the economic situation, and they're also into real estate. You have been into it, and you have the experience, and you know how the whole thing plays out. So what should they do differently in terms of the fact that they are thinking of just closing shop, and the economic environment has not been friendly? What would your advice to them be?
Okay, so my advice to every young individual, whether you're into real estate or any sector, and you are intending to actually give up, is number one, do not give up. Find people who actually have been in that same position, who have been in that business which you are into at the moment. Find those who have succeeded in these businesses. Find them and have them as mentors. Let them be the individuals. Let them be the individuals to coach you. Let them be the individuals to actually begin to tell you what to do. Some of them you might not have access to them, but you might have access to them through their books. Everybody is online now, so you can, of course, a good number of people are online. You can check them out online. Go for their conferences, their events. Success always leaves footprints. So what you just need to do is find the footprints of those who have succeeded in what you're doing, and also you do it and you get the same result. When I actually had to pivot from e-commerce to real estate, it wasn't easy for me as well. So I thought, looking at the fact that I built a brand in the e-commerce, it's going to be an easy peasy thing. But it wasn't as easy as I thought of it. I did not give up, even though it looked as if at some point I was tired. But I had to look at myself. What do I need to do differently? I got mentors, I read books, I attended events, conferences, and I began to put to use those things which I have learned, and that's why today I have the result I have today in terms of being in the real estate sector and also making waves as well in it, both in Dubai, in Nigeria, and the US. So that's my advice for anyone, to not give up.
All right, thank you so much, Bisi, for your time, and of course the wonderful insight and inputs you have brought on the show today, and of course the average businessman and woman who are struggling. We do appreciate your time on the show.
Thank you so much, Justin, for having me.
All right, I have been speaking with Bisi Akintayo. She is the CEO of GtextSuites, and we have been looking at how Nigerians are blazing trails and doing so well. And it's not just about all the bad, gloomy, and doom narrative that have been painted about Nigerians. Nigerians are indeed good businessmen and, of course, businesswomen as well, and they are making impact. And, of course, we also delve into how we can make real estate and housing deficits bridged here in the country. My name is Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for being a part of the show. I'll see you again.